We're pleased to welcome back into the program a fairly new business owner, really gearing up in 2023, John Johnson with Absolute Home Analysis. He's a home inspector at ahainspects.com. In the last segment, we talked about your background being a building inspector.
Yes, sir.
And dealing with permits and really being very careful from a safety standpoint for folks. And now you've gotten in to the home inspection business. And I was just curious, for someone interested in using your services, do you have a certain kind of checklist of what you're going to monitor when you go to someone's home?
Oh, yes, we do. And it's actually a software program, and it's proprietary. I mean, it's not free. I mean, you can't go just to yourself and go download it and use it. But it's one of the most popular ones in the country for home inspectors to use, and it has a built-in checklist per se, and it gives you, it can be done on a mobile device. It can be done, of course, sitting at a laptop, or it can be done, at a desktop. But it goes through a checklist of things, starting from, and it's not just the home itself, and most people don't think about this. We start at the road, really, when we pull up on the job, and we look to see where water meters are, where your water supplies are, where your sewage drainage is, and see if there's any problems there that you may not even think about looking at when you're purchasing a home.
Even the roads, cracks in the roads?
Right, and driveways and access and potholes and that sort of thing. And then we'll look at the landscape of the property and see if we see any areas where there might be moisture that, could be settling because of improper grading. But this checklist it's a cheat sheet for us because naturally it's, probably 8 or 10 pages long, with different things, and we're going to forget something. We're human, so we're going to forget something. So we can follow that checklist, and we can make sure. And if we get to an item that doesn't exist in that home, then we just exit and delete it and go on. But we get to each item, and it makes us think about: have we looked at that? What did we see? And within that program, also, it's set up to where we can snap a picture at that point in time and insert it into that software program and show you what we're talking about. If we see a corrosion around a hot water intake, we can take a picture of it and even, get interactive with it and draw a circle around it and point an arrow to it so you understand what we're talking about, and it's not just a bunch of language that you don't understand, especially if you're not that familiar with a home and how it works. But it's pretty fail-safe as far as us not catching everything.
Sure.
And there's different sections for the exterior. There's, and then you move on down.
You
the
go
line.
just kind of room by room.
I start at the bottom, work my way to the top. So we work outside. If there's a crawl space, we go into the crawl space. Look at that. I usually wait till last on that because I get kind of dirty when I do that, and I don't want to go in people's homes.
Right.
When I'm caked in mud and debris. But we go through the entire home, each room by room, look at each plumbing fixture, check each plumbing fixture if possible to make sure it has hot running water. We check as many electrical receptacles as we can to verify that they work. And if they're in an area where it should be a ground fault interceptor, and it's not, we will make them aware of that. And there again, we may make a note. Maybe it wasn't required by code at the time this home was built, but that's one of those safety things that we do recommend you have someone look at because it could be a shock hazard.
Back in the day when my wife and I had purchased a home and we got a home inspection done, I remember carbon copy sheets, and I want to say we got it in the mail a week later. So since you do it digitally, is it something, how long does it take for the homeowner to get it?
I typically will have it to the homeowner within 24 hours. I try to make it quicker than that, but it just depends on when I do the inspection.
Sure.
Naturally, if I don't get done with an inspection until 5 or 6 o'clock at night, do like to spend a little bit of time with my wife, see if I can keep her happy.
Yeah.
And, but I will try to get it within 24 hours. And that's what makes it unique about this software that we have now. And a lot of software companies out there do this, but we email it And of course, we can print a copy and mail it to you. If some people just don't deal with email, but we can email it to you, and then whoever else you give us permission to email it to. Whoever pays for the inspection is the owner of the inspection. That's typically the buyer. But if he wants a copy to go to the real estate broker, we can send it to them. If he wants a copy to go to the mortgager,
sure,
we can send it to them. So whoever they want it sent to, and when we send it out to the homeowner or the potential buyer, it can go right out to them as well. So,
sure,
but,
yeah.
It makes it a lot easier to do your reporting. In the earlier days of after I got into this and didn't purchase the program and used a free one that was out there, it would sometimes take me 4 hours or so once I got home
right,
to do the report. Well, now usually within 30 or 45 minutes, because I have entered a lot of stuff on the job, I can be done with it.
Well, that's good. That makes it more efficient for you and
most
for the
people
client.
are anxious to get the report. They want to know what they got to start working on.
Yeah, well, we're continuing to speak with John Johnson, and if you've not learned anything except it, happy wife, happy life.
That's
we know
right.
that. We've heard that. So I pulled that nugget out, and he's got a brand new website to kind of walk through a lot of the services he has at ahainspects.com. He'll do a peace of mind inspection for you just every 5 years just to see what needs to be repaired. And then, of course, it's really required as the purchasing, buying, or selling.
Pretty
so
much.
Tell us how you work with, because we have a lot of readers and viewers who are either in the real estate industry or mortgage brokers.
Yes, sir.
How do you try to work with them?
We do whatever they need us to do.
Sure.
I mean, we work with them. I mean, of course, our primary contact is the realtor because, the mortgage company will tell the home buyer that they need so he turns to the real estate broker and says, who do I call? Because normally they won't know one.
Right.
So, we try to keep a relationship going with them and communicate with them, send them copies of the reports, and help them help their client if there is an issue with and one I had recently, the mortgage company the underwriter for the mortgage company was requiring some things that I couldn't furnish because they wanted somebody from the state that was licensed to verify some things. And so I worked with them and helped them. And I just found out today that the mortgage went through, and the young man, he's fixing to get married, has got his new starter home, and they're on the road. So I spoke with that realtor probably 3, 4, 5 times from the time I inspected the home to the time it closed, just helping them to get through. And then with mortgagers or the mortgage companies, same thing. I mean, I typically don't talk to them a lot, but like if someone's buying a home, not going through a realtor, which I don't recommend, but if it has been done. I actually bought one of my homes without going through a realtor, and it turned out okay. But you may not have a realtor, so when you're sitting in front of that lender and he says, okay, well, you got to have a home inspection. Well, there again, they look at him and go, where do I get that?
Yeah.
Well, if I've got a relationship with them, then, he can say, well, here's a guy here. He can probably get to it pretty quick, and we can get this thing on the road and get you financed and get you in your new home.
And lastly, what kind of an impact can a home inspector make as it relates to getting a deal done? In other words, what variance could there be in terms of the sale price, or how does that work in the nitty-gritty towards the end?
And I'm glad you asked that, Neil, because a lot of people are under the impression as a home inspector that I can make them do something. If I write it on my report, it's got to be done. That's not the truth at all. I can't make you do anything. All I'm doing is reporting what I see, giving the seller and the buyer a negotiating point. So then it's up to them. If the buyer says, well, if you fix this, then I'll go through with the sale, or if you don't fix it, I'm going to reduce my price to this. And they have contingencies built into the contracts that they sign, so they have a little bit of time to negotiate stuff like that. But it is very crucial that be done in a timely fashion, so they have as much time as they can to, number one, correct the deficiencies we find, or renegotiate the contract where it's beneficial for both parties.
Excellent. Well, this has really been enlightening. Appreciate you, John, a lot. And again, you may want to just go online to ahainspects.com. You can then call John if you like and learn a lot about what's going on in the current climate that we live in.
That's right.
And it's good to have a friend in the business, and it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure for me as well.
Thank you,
Neil.
John.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.